Hi, folks. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us right now, you know him, you love him, you watch him every morning, along with Steve and now Elizabeth on Fox and Friends. He's the host of the Brian Kilmeade radio show as well, and the author of a new book, a very interesting book called George Washington's Secret Six, The Spy Ring That Saved the American Revolution. I hold that in my hands right here. For those watching at Newsmax TV, Brian Kilmeade, good to see you.
Your hand modeling background certainly came in handy. Am I correct?
Me and George Costanza. Yes, the hand modeling background.
Until it was an unfortunate accident.
Very unfortunate, that hot iron, yes. Yeah. All right, so I knew I was going to have fun with this interview. So let's start with the book before we get to the disaster of Obamacare and everything else. What on earth made you write a book about? How did you find out about this spy ring, known as the Culper spy ring, which were a group of 6 guys during the Revolutionary War, which basically enabled the outcome that we all know to occur?
Well, first thing, I found out about it in '89. I was waiting at 25A in Manhasset for a bus, and I'm waiting, and I watched a guy on a guide rail painting a line in the street. So I said, I thought a machine does that. And he said, it does, but this washes away. This is to commemorate where George Washington came back in the hope of meeting his spies. So, of course, I said, what are you talking about? I had no idea. For one thing, I fault my social studies curriculum. Why would you bring kids to go see an organ that used to be a Radio City as a field trip when you could go see where Washington trailed and slept and stayed and utilized this spy ring? And they were everyday people, 5 men and 1 woman, who simply turned around a war that we were not supposed to win.
And how did this line painter, not to diminish him, but how did this line painter know about it?
Setauket. There's Setauket spies, and there's little museums throughout Long Island. If you go to Oyster Bay, they kept the house of Robert Townsend Culver Jr. If you go out east, it's all about Abraham Woodhull. He was the first spy. He was the one who sifted through all the intelligence and then gave it to Caleb Brewster, and then he would row across the Long Island Sound with 6 guys in a cannon through the British Navy to drop it over to Washington for 4 years. So I went there, and these people couldn't have been nicer. You know, in our business, it's kill or be killed. Yeah. If you're a historian or a curator, it's let me educate. So I bothered these people on and off since really 1990. And I said I'd love to do a movie, and then the more I thought about it, the more that came out on it, the more I realized had to be told. I thought, let's see if we can do a book first. Team with Don Yeager, and who's done 27 of them. We went through all the information I gathered, and we managed to thin it out and put this together.
All right, so let's talk about I mean, they weren't just ancillary. They were significant because Washington was in big trouble, and he turned to these guys, and they played a key role in many aspects.
I mean, think about this: there's 40,000 troops who came to blow Washington out of New York, and he did. We had at peak 8, and at the small side 3. We have farmers and shopkeepers, as most of you know. But he does know this.
Those numbers sound like the Obamacare rollout.
It does sound, a little high for the Obamacare rollout, just to be honest. It started with, he had more than 6. Yeah. So what you had here is a guy that had to figure out he can outthink the British and how to do it. He also had this thing called time. He thought I could outlast him, show him endurance, and frustrate him, and he did on every level. So what he did first off is teach him how to spy, and he got this guy, Major Benjamin Talmadge, who lived in the area, who, if I can encourage anyone to go to Google this guy. If you think Paul Revere was special, Patrick Henry, Alexander Hamilton, what he did and what he wrote was tremendous. So he goes in and gets this farmer that everyone thought was ambivalent towards the war. He goes, now I know this Abraham Woodhull against this British. He's really concerned about losing his farm. And he was being abused by the British, and they were taking his stuff. Got him. They go, I got a good guy to help us out, a tavern owner. His name is Austin Rowe. He's got a great horse, could go back and forth 55 miles, and he's got a cover story. His cover story is, got to get supplies for my tavern or restaurant. Yeah. What does Woodhull need? He needs some materials. He also needs to sell in Manhattan. Then we have this guy, Caleb Brewster, who refused to take a pseudonym, like a badass, muscles rippling out. It reminds me of my vision is of The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, going through, blowing out the British, trying to challenge them and bait them. And he survived and took a bullet in the neck, but ended up surviving and recovering. We kept up with him. All of them are interesting characters. But the key was how do you get into Manhattan where we are right now? How do you get access? Well,
I have that problem every day coming from New Jersey.
And
actually,
that's pretty much an Easy Pass issue with you, and you refuse to pay the bill, and that credit card keeps rotating.
I asked you not to talk about that,
right, but
please.
it's too late. We're live.
Yes, okay.
And so without the Easy Pass of the tunnels, then they had to take the ferry, and they got this guy Robert Townsend, who normally didn't want any part of the war, but the British did something silly. They said, "You got the biggest house and the nicest property. We'll pin your family." Part of the war, but the British did something silly. They said, "You got the biggest house and the nicest property. We'll pin your family." No shipping. He's able to judge ships and understand manifests. He's able to sell dry goods and talk to lieutenants and colonels and captains. At the same time, jot things down with invisible ink and encryption. Is able to sell dry goods and talk to lieutenants and colonels and captains. At the same time,
sounds predestined. It almost sounds too good to have been just arbitrarily put together. I know it sounds crazy what I'm saying, but the pieces just fell into place here, right?
Well, it's in retrospect. If you, as you read the book, you see they had problems.
Yeah.
You know, there was
I'm sure along the way.
There was jealousy. There was frustration. There was fear. There was, I'm out, I'm in. Why is he still allowed to work? I can't work.
Was my producer Chad there?
Is that some of the friction that the Malmsberg show?
Only kidding.
I thought this was the new age of radio and TV. Arguing is old school. Come on, Steve. So so what I wanted to do is, the more I found out, the more I explained it to people, friends who aren't interested in history, they all leaned in.
Yeah.
They all wanted to know more. And then I finally just said, listen, if I'm going to do this, I got to get my family. And I just said, let's go out to Stony Brook, Long Island, where the college is, to this mini museum. And we went in there, and they brought us through this room. It's not even as big as this studio. And they saw the passion, they saw the interest, and we thought, let's do it.
Amazing. All right, so the book is George Washington's Secret Six, the Spying that Saved.
And we thought, let's do it.
Amazing. All right, so the book is George Washington's Secret Six, the Spying that Saved. Again, but I just want to, you came in, we were talking. I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore about this Obamacare. And it's not the computer. When the computer gets fixed, it's the lie that he told. I want you to listen to Cut 24. This is Marsha Blackburn, congressman from Tennessee, as she likes to be called, with Carol Costello on CNN. And Costello's basically scolding her for talking about the problems and
when was this,
with
today?
Obamacare. No, this had to be yesterday or so.
Well,
here it is.
What in your mind is the point of this? Haven't we heard enough from Kathleen Sebelius?
Do not want fewer choice and options. They want more.
Don't these hearings have to end, and don't lawmakers have to sit down and fix things, govern, come up with solutions? Just like Chris Christie said. Because you can sit and you can win an argument every day and say you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and perhaps those people are wrong. But at some point, don't you have to sit down and come up with solutions and
we're doing
stop
that.
Pointing fingers?
Stop pointing fingers. Why you got Kathleen Sebelius back before a committee? Leave her alone. Why don't you fix it for her? I mean, typical. I mean, you want to weigh in. You're with Fox. You want to weigh in on CNN. I mean, this is typical stuff away from Fox. And let me tell you, to me, Fox, and I had this discussion with Richard Wolff, and we made some news about it, but to me, Fox is not right-wing. I'm sorry. I mean, you have so many paid contributors on the left. You have hosts that are down the middle or to the left. The other networks don't have them. The Republicans that they have on CNN are typical rhinos, and MSNBC doesn't even pretend beyond Joe Scarborough to have anybody really who's a Republican. So you guys are fair and balanced. I have no allegiance to Fox. The others are nuts. But what do you think of what you just saw?
Well, when you had the lockout, you know, CNN said this is dumb. What are you doing with the lockout? I'm thinking sports. When you had the shutdown, the government shutdown, the CNN would get these same people on and yell them down and scream them down.
Every day.
But the other issue was, I kind of thought Ted Cruz was making a mistake. I didn't see a tactic there from day one, and I thought you got on the show with actually no argument to make, but people came forward. Here you have a situation where people are still trying to figure out why their policies have been canceled, why this doesn't work, why they can't log on, and why the money's not going to come out, and why they don't get a personal exemption. And you should ask a guest on and ask them questions. There's legitimate questions to be answered. There's security questions. How great was it that Roger said, what makes you think your identity and your social security number and your address is going to be secure? What about Senator Cornyn? How do I know your navigators aren't criminals?
Convicted felons getting your social Social Security number. She said, could be.
And let me just say, if it's grandstanding, which was an afternoon press conference, I have news for you. Get out of Washington or Atlanta or wherever she is, because no one carried that live. Yeah. We carried it on .com live. Yeah. The networks didn't carry it. Yeah. She can't answer the question. She didn't have the courage to say we made a mistake or the president should have been more forthcoming or finished his sentence.
Yeah, but what's Costello, we're getting on Blackburn's case. She, first of all, wasn't a hearing before her committee in the first place. But why shouldn't Sebelius be called back and back and back until answers are given?
Absolutely, especially because, it does bother me when I see this, and I know it must bother you when you see 20-minute questions. And there's no question to whoever it is, whether it's Lois Lerner or somebody else.
Yep.
But there was no grandstanding in this situation. And with Carol Costello's situation, she had upper hand. Clearly, she's in the Obama camp. She had upper hand talking about everything with Obamacare. Why don't you like poor people to have insurance? Why don't you want old people to have insurance? So all of a sudden, we see this rollout. She should be sitting there saying, you know what? From the perspective of, you're right. You were right to challenge this, and you couldn't be more disappointed as an American on the rollout and the implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want you to now, let's shift gears to Chris Christie and his victory. Of course, now Carol Costello, among the mainstream media, quoting their hero, Chris Christie, who they'll build up until if he runs against Hillary, they'll tear down. But anti-choice, pro-life, supposedly anti-gay marriage, and they love him until he runs. You saw the Time magazine. We put up that Time magazine cover, the last cut, the picture of what they call the elephant in the room. Now the excuse is that it's a silhouette, looks like Alfred Hitchcock a little bit, right? And the elephant in the room, elephant is the symbol of the Republicans. But would they ever dare put up Barack Obama and call him the donkey or jackass in the room? That's their symbol. I mean, what do you think of this cover?
I think Time Magazine's desperate to get attention again. We're showing it. We were showing it before I got over
everybody's
here.
Everybody's going to show it, sure, yeah.
I think it's insulting. I think it's personally degrading. In the case of Chris Christie, he's going to give more sympathizers because of it, and it shows their outright bias. There was a time in high school and college where they said, get Time more sympathizers because of it, and it shows their outright bias. There was a time in high school and college where they said, get Time newspaper, and now I wouldn't pick it up. I can't see the reason when it's so clear their agenda. And actually, I'm a little insulted. There's a lot of overweight people in America who would like to lose weight. You've alienated every one of them.
That's true. No, that's absolutely true.
There's a lot of overweight people in America who would like to lose weight. You've alienated every one of them.
That's true. No, that's absolutely radio. And the author of George Washington's Secret Six, right here, the spy ring that saved the American Revolution. We've got about another minute. When people, I'm always fighting this battle, and so are my friends. Revolution. We've got about another minute. When people, I'm always fighting this battle, and so are my friends. What's your defense to that? I mean, what do you say to people who insist with the party line or the fabrication that, Fox is right wing, they get their talking points from the Republicans? Bill Maher just said it the other day. They lie. MSN that, Fox is right wing, they get their talking points from the Republicans. Bill Maher just said it the other day. They lie. MSNs get the talking points. What do you say to that?
Well, I say two things. If it's a 50-50 country and we all have televisions, 90% of the country has televisions, more than one. Why is it that you could take MSNBC and CNN and fit them in our ratings as televisions, more than one? Why is it that you could take MSNBC and CNN and fit them in our ratings? The Democratic side of the ledger not have TVs, not have electricity, running water. So if you have a choice, people are choosing Fox, I think, for the content and the characters on there. We are unabashedly pro-American.
There you go. Good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
George Washington's Secret Six. Say hello to Steve, my friend, who I occasionally run into at a hamburger stop. Yeah, and say hello to Elizabeth, who I do not know, but say hello anyway.
And congratulations, Steve, on all this.
Thank you very much. Brian Kilmeade, ladies and gentlemen.
He's got my cubes with his name on.
We didn't get to the Dolphins. I really want to talk about the Dolphins with him, but maybe another time. George Washington's Secret Six. Get it, ladies and gentlemen. Be there or be square, as they say. I don't know why I said that. I don't know what it means exactly. We're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio. As they say, I don't know why I said that. I don't know what it means exactly. We're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.